Because the goal is not to completely subjugate Afghanistan. The goal is to use Afghanistan to wash money out of the tax bases of the United States, out of the tax bases of European countries, through Afghanistan and back into the hands of a transnational security elite. That is the goal, i.e. the goal is to have an endless war, not a successful war.
Those were some very important words from WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange over 10 years ago, warning us about what actually was happening in Afghanistan. No one listened, and he is now in jail. And as one conflict ends, we are about to enter a new and more troubling one. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Luke Rudowski of WeAreChange.org. A lot of critically important information to get into, especially with how, according to my own personal opinion, a lot of this is happening on purpose. I'll tell you why I believe that in just a little bit. But before we do, we're going to cover a little bit of some important unrelated news, as of course, with scandal after scandal, gaffes after gaffes, prices of consumer goods, food, commodities, all going up dramatically. We are at a point where Biden's approval rating has just fallen below 50%, as of course his direct government intervention has led to some very severe consequences. And now, with record high inflation, labor shortages, supply shortages, things are only going to get a lot more troubling from here. And what did you expect from a government that over 30 years were working, aiding, and abetting individuals like Jeffrey Epstein? And very interestingly, we just got news that according to Reuters, U.S. investigators are seeking to interview Prince Andrew, who of course is entangled in this entire saga, and find him a person of interest. And yeah, finally, there's been a lot of evidence, there's been a lot of witnesses, there's been a lot of testimony against him, and there's a lot of other very powerful people still out there that did unspeakable things that have never faced the true ramifications of their actions. Most of these people protected by the police, prosecutors, judges, politicians, and billionaires that, of course, live by a different set of rules. All of this as issues that plague the world aren't even properly investigated. You can't even talk about them on big tech social media monopolies, as we're getting more and more troubling reports that we can't even talk about because of censors. That's why we're going to be having a very important video later on today, specifically on LukeUncensored.com. I am really happy with the way that things have been going here on our own independent media platform. We get to have honest, rational, real, scientific discussions where there's no filtering, there's no suppression, just outright honest intellectual conversations on some spicy topics. If you want to be a part of that, check out LukeUncensored.com. And because of our discontent of the big tech monopolies that have demonetized us, downranked us, we have also created a new t-shirt store that is up and running and absolutely kicking some major buttocks on, of course, thebestpoliticalshirts.com. We just launched this brand new spanking t-shirt, which of course is promised to start some very interesting conversations when you wear it out in the real world. If you want this shirt, plus the plethora of thought-provoking, head-turning, smile-creating uniform of the people that are awake and paying attention, go to thebestpoliticalshirts.com. I'm actually wearing one of them right now, showing a usually very confused Biden that says, "I'm Joe Biden," and I forgot this message. Again, I made way too many friends wearing this shirt. Again, the link is down below. Click on it right now. Now, with thousands of Americans stranded in Afghanistan, with the administration literally prioritizing refugees over them, what's the Taliban doing? Well, on their official Twitter account, which is still somehow up onto Twitter, they're trolling the President of the United States by posting pictures of themselves eating ice cream. The also mostly friendly Taliban, as labeled by CNN, are accused of also firing into a crowd, taking out a woman for not wearing a burqa, all as they pledge to honor women's rights, and according to some reports, have even seized U.S. military biometric devices they used in order to identify Afghanis who worked with the U.S. military and were under their track, trace, and database system. Now again, what happened here shouldn't be a surprise to anyone paying attention, as We started this video with the very important words of Julian Assange 10 years ago. U.S. Congressman Ron Paul was also issuing very similar warnings to the American people, trying to wake them up to the reality of what actually was happening in Afghanistan, and no one listened. These voices, the voices of Ron Paul, Julian Assange, independent alternative media that was actually paying attention to what was really happening, were censored, downranked in the algorithm, and of course prevented from having a bigger voice while the mainstream media laughed at them. And now we have a very serious situation where, once again, financed with American tax dollars, arming and funding radical Wahhabist Sunni groups that want to exact their revenge on the, quote, West. And it's important to note here that the intelligence agencies of the United States have a long history of doing this, which should be alarming and concerning to everyone. But we have to ask ourselves, why is this happening? For right now, there's a lot of speculation about the problem-reaction Hegelian dialectic, but it's important to note here that at the end of this very important chapter in American foreign policy history, we have also seen a large transition of recreational drugs like heroin being replaced with synthetic lab-made chemicals like fentanyl. We also have to understand that through the consequences of this latest action by the U.S. government, there's also going to be another refugee crisis hitting predominantly Europe. The United States also just announced more plans to accelerate their refugee relocation program, which the Biden administration authorized $500 million for. And as unvetted, unknown, random Afghanis are sent to predominantly swing states like Georgia, with the supposed Republican governor of that country proposing that Georgia set up their own refugee camp in their own state, we also have to understand that this relocation of a population is not only going to embolden the ice cream eating Taliban, but it's also going to work in favor of the Democratic Party. This is also going to have wide-ranging effects in Europe, as we had a German diplomat come out and say that not even tanks could stop the large wave of Afghan refugees heading to Europe right now. There also will be some severe socioeconomic consequences because of that, as of course, according to many sources, there are still thousands of American citizens trapped in Afghanistan who are told to shelter in place, as many people accuse the Biden administration literally prioritizing refugees over American citizens. And I think that assessment is fair from the information that I looked at, as even the Washington Post had to write a piece begging the Biden administration to help some of the trapped U.S. citizens. And as, of course, the domestic intelligence agency security state reportedly fails once again. And again, I don't believe that this was a failure that happened by accident. I do believe that there is circumstantial evidence to suggest that this was a deliberate failure because of the larger gains made by the power establishment here. But we have to understand here, time and time again, these deep state intelligence agencies create a huge disservice to the American people, not only arming the ice cream eating Taliban with the latest and greatest U.S. technology, drones, MRAPs, Humvees, you name it, they got it, night vision, scopes, millions of dollars worth of U.S. taxpayer property, but while they openly arm the enemies of this country who could be a potential danger against its citizenry, they are also declaring that if you oppose any of the ridiculous health measures imposed by some of the bureaucrats in this country and their decrees that are not even backed by science, that you might be a potential terror threat. Literally, the whole conflict in Afghanistan is ending while the Pentagon military-industrial complex is sharpening its knives and turning them inwards against the American people. This latest DHS issue warning, essentially saying that people who don't believe children should wear face diapers, people who talk to their medical professionals and get guidance that is not what some bureaucrat wants for them or deemed potential threats, that's absolutely terrifying and ridiculous, just as it is dangerous. There's been many medical professionals that want to even start a conversation, start a dialogue, like a Harvard medical professional that is being censored right now on big tech social media. Is he a terror threat because he's trying to have a scientific discussion that goes against the prevailing narratives, the bureaucrats who think they know what's better for you? Well, according to the DHS, yes, there's Obama administration security, Homeland Security members literally urging for more apartheid, segregation-like policies that will set people against each other, calling to people to be put on no-fly lists for not going along with what a bureaucrat wants for them. This is a major escalation. This is very dangerous language. Homeland Security saying Americans upset by public health safety measures could be terror threats, saying that these health rules could be catalysts for domestic terrorism, saying that they could spark violent attacks. How? They're saying that's the real threat when literally your tax dollars just went to arming the Taliban to give them weapons that they never even dreamed of having? All, of course, as we're getting other reports of reported sabotage of the Afghan security forces, who some of which are coming out and saying that they were betrayed, that they were double-crossed, that they were lied to, and that many of them could have put up a fight, but they were ordered not to, as the president of that country literally escaped with cars and helicopters full of cash. We're getting reports that the security forces were told that there was a peace deal. They were told to stand down, and then randomly they were told to hand over all of their arms and munitions to the Taliban. Who was giving these orders? What was going on here? Well, clearly, this is something worth investigating, as the national security state is literally setting its eyes internally on the American people, who clearly the deep state sees as a bigger threat than armed radical Wahhabists that they were previously going after. This clear priority shift is troubling. I wouldn't be surprised that in the next coming months that there would be another event that would catalyze this agenda even further. I think it's pretty clear that we've been lied to. The chess game is being set. The pieces are put in place. I would expect a major move here. Keep your eyes open. Pay attention to what's going on. Having peace, being calm, and critically thinking is the answer. The opposite of that is what the media and the state want you to be. Don't let them win. And if you agreed with what I said in this video, share this with your friends and family members. It's more important than ever. If you disliked anything, let me know why in the comment section below. Dislike the video. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, and this is why. I love you guys. Stay tuned for more, especially later on today with a new video on LukeUncensored.com. Love you guys.